We're counting down the 10 most misleading makeup products mature women should avoid, plus 3 game-changing alternatives that actually work with aging skin. From formulas that drain every drop of moisture to powders that highlight every fine line, these popular picks could be silently sabotaging your look every day. Which cult favorite made the top spot for adding years instead of erasing them? Let's start the countdown with number 10. Kylie Cosmetics Matte Liquid Lipsticks. Promise hours of bold color, but for women over 50, the reality is far less flattering. The formula relies on volatile alcohols to lock pigment in place, and that quick dry sensation comes at a cost. Within minutes, the thin skin of mature lips starts losing vital moisture. Over 4 to 6 hours, the MIT film hardens and begins to flake, leaving behind uneven patches that are tough to touch up without making the problem worse. Instead of a smooth finish, the product clings to every vertical line, exaggerating texture and making lips look parched and older. Unlike traditional creamy lipsticks, reapplying only adds to the unevenness. Many women report that even a single swipe can leave lips feeling tight and uncomfortable by midday. For those still loyal to bold color, a nourishing balm underneath can soften the impact. But the best fix is to choose formulas that hydrate rather than dehydrate. This is the first sign that long-wear matte trends do not always age gracefully. Maybelline Superstay Matte Ink Liquid Lipsticks are celebrated for their long-lasting color, but for mature lips, the formula comes with a hidden cost. As the product dries, a polymeric film forms across the lips. This film does not just lock in color, it actually tightens as the last traces of solvent evaporate. Over the first 2 hours, users often notice a subtle but unmistakable shrinking sensation. For women over 50, whose lips may already be thinner and more lined, this tightening effect can be dramatic. The film contracts by a few percent, making lips appear smaller and pulling into every vertical crease. Instead of a fuller, smoother look, the lips can start to look pinched and puckered. The longer the lipstick stays on, the more pronounced the effect becomes, especially around the 2-hour mark. By mid-afternoon, what began as a bold statement color now highlights every fine line, leaving lips looking less plump and more aged. For anyone hoping to create the illusion of fullness, these lipsticks often deliver the opposite. Waterproof jet black liquid eyeliners are a staple in many makeup bags, but for mature eyes, they can do more harm than good. The formula relies on tough polyurethane and acrylate polymers, which grip the skin with an intensity that is hard to break. On eyelids that have grown thinner and more delicate over time, this grip becomes a problem. Removing these liners often demands 200 grams of force, several times what is needed for gentler tubing formulas. That extra tug can stretch or even irritate fragile skin, especially after years of use. The pigment itself absorbs almost all visible light, creating a stark ink-black line that can overwhelm the natural shape of the eye. Instead of lifting and brightening, the line can weigh down the lash line, making eyes look smaller and more tired. The classic winged flick, so crisp on younger lids, often disappears into hooded creases, leaving only a harsh edge behind. For mature women, the combination of difficult removal and severe contrast makes these liners not just unflattering, but risky for long-term skin health. Chunky glitter palettes from brands like Morphe and ColourPop promise a burst of fun, but for mature eyelids, the results are rarely as playful as the packaging suggests. Each glitter particle is over 50 microns wide, big enough to catch the light, but also heavy enough to fall out of place. On skin that has lost some of its natural tension, gravity quickly takes over. Within the first hour, the glitter sits on top of the lid, sparkling and bold. By the 3rd hour, fallout peaks. Particles migrate downward and settle into every fold and crease. What started as a shimmering accent transforms into scattered flecks, clumped along the eyelid's natural lines. Unlike fine shimmer, which uses particles under 10 microns and stays put up to 60% better, chunky glitter has no staying power on textured skin. The larger pieces do not blend in. they float and then drop, highlighting every dip and crinkle. By midday, the look turns messy and uneven, with glitter pooling in areas you never intended. For women over 50, this means more than just a fading eye look. It is a midday reminder of every crease. The difference is clear in side-by-side photos. What is meant to enhance the eyes ends up drawing attention to texture instead. When glitter is too bold for its own good, it magnifies the very features many want to soften. Metallic powder highlighters, like Becca Champagne Pop and Smashbox's bestsellers, promise a radiant glow, but often deliver something far less flattering on mature cheeks. Instead of a soft, candlelit effect, these powders create sharp, mirror-like reflections that act as wrinkle locators. The secret lies in the mica platelets, tiny flat particles that bounce light straight back to the eye. On smooth, youthful skin, this can look luminous. But on skin that has developed fine lines and enlarged pores, the reflection turns harsh. Even a single sweep can spotlight every dip and bump, making wrinkles appear up to 18% deeper in imaging studies. Unlike cream-based highlighters that blend into the skin, metallic powders sit on top, catching light unevenly as the face moves. The result is a patchwork of glare that draws attention to texture instead of disguising it. Pores seem larger, and the cheekbones meant to look lifted suddenly look etched and uneven. For women over 50, this can mean a midday mirror check reveals not a youthful glow, but a roadmap of every line and shadow. The difference between a healthy glow and a metallic glare comes down to the formula. Soft focus creams blur, while high-shine powders magnify. The next step in the countdown looks at how dryness compounds these issues, especially when powder takes over moisture. Heavy baking powders, like Laura Mercier's Translucent Loose, swept onto the scene from backstage drag shows and Instagram tutorials. The method calls for piling a thick layer of powder under the eyes and along the jawline, then letting it sit for 5 minutes or more. On stage, this locks makeup in place under hot lights, but for women over 50, the effect is far less forgiving. The secret behind baking powders is their high content of starch and silica, ingredients that act like tiny sponges, soaking up every drop of oil and surface moisture. When left on mature skin, these powders spike transepidermal water loss by up to 15%, leaving the surface drier than before. What is left behind is a chalky, dusty finish that clings to every fine line and crease. Instead of a smooth, bright under eye, the result is often crepey and dull. In photos, especially with flash, the powder can look almost white, spotlighting texture rather than disguising it. The skin under the eyes, already thin and prone to dryness, ends up looking older and more fatigued. Even a light sweep can settle into folds, but baking amplifies the effect, making every movement reveal more dryness. For mature women, what started as a trick for flawless glam becomes a fast track to a tired, parched appearance. The next challenge comes when concealer meets this desert-like canvas, setting the stage for even more exaggerated lines. Tarte Shape Tape Concealer, in its original formula, became an internet favorite for its instant coverage and promise of a flawless under eye. But for women over 50, this quick-fix concealer often delivers the opposite effect. The secret is in the way it dries. Within 30 seconds of application, over 90% of the formula's flexibility is lost as the volatile solvents flash off. What is left behind is a dense, high-pigment film that locks into place, far less forgiving than the skin it sits on. The under-eye area moves constantly throughout the day, from blinking to smiling. Skin here is already the thinnest on the face, with less collagen and elasticity than anywhere else. When a rigid concealer sets over this delicate zone, every micro-expression is translated into a visible line. The product cannot stretch or rebound with the skin, so it starts to crack and separate, mapping out every fine wrinkle like a contour drawing. Instead of hiding dark circles, the result is often a paper-like finish that highlights texture and exaggerates fatigue. Time-lapse photos show that what looks smooth at first can become lined and patchy within just a few hours. Unlike lighter, more flexible formulas, the original Shape Tape formula acts almost like shrink wrap, immovable, unyielding, and ultimately aging. For mature skin, a concealer that sets this hard becomes less of a solution and more of a spotlight on every flaw the wearer hoped to conceal. High-coverage stick foundations like the Hourglass Vanish Stick promise flawless skin in a swipe. The reality for mature faces is much less forgiving. These formulas use a dense wax and silicone matrix, which creates a layer that is up to twice as thick as most liquid foundations. Instead of melting seamlessly into the skin, the stick glides over pores and fine lines, then settles on top, forming an opaque shield. This mask-like effect does not just hide imperfections, it draws attention to them. Every pore becomes more visible, especially in areas where the skin has lost its natural bounce. Under a macro lens, the surface can resemble orange peel, with product pooling in shallow dips and skipping over raised areas. Movement only makes things worse. The waxy film resists stretching and rebounding as you smile or speak. Unlike lightweight liquids that flex with your expressions, stick foundations tend to crack or separate at the corners of the mouth and around the eyes. The thicker the application, the more obvious the problem becomes. Instead of a natural finish, the foundation sits stiffly on the face, exaggerating every shift and wrinkle. Even attempts to blend out the edges can result in uneven patches, especially if the skin underneath is dry or textured. For women over 50, the difference is clear during the smile test. A quick grin can break the surface of the foundation, revealing lines that were barely noticeable before. Pores look larger, and the skin loses its natural glow. Some users try to shear out the stick with a damp sponge, but the underlying wax base remains heavy compared to modern hydrating liquids. While stick foundations can work for targeted coverage, using them as a full-face solution often leads to a rigid artificial look that masks the vitality of mature skin rather than enhancing it. MAC Studio Fix Fluid SPF 15 has long been a favorite for its coverage and staying power, but on mature skin, its chemistry tells a different story. The formula relies on iron oxides and other pigments that interact with the skin's natural oils and pH. Over the course of a typical day, this interaction can trigger a process called oxidation. Colorimeters used in cosmetic labs have measured a delta E color change of 3 to 4 within 6 hours, enough for the difference to be visible to the naked eye. That means a warm beige can turn orange, or a cool neutral can suddenly look sallow, especially in natural light. Beyond color, the matte finish of Studio Fix Fluid plays its own role in aging the face. The high-pigment, oil-absorbing formula creates a flat, uniform surface that erases the natural highs and lows of the skin. On younger faces, this can look smooth and poreless, but for women over 50, the lack of dimension drains the face of vitality. Facial features appear less defined, and the skin's natural glow is replaced by a dull, mask-like effect. The matte film also tends to settle into lines around the mouth, nose, and eyes, making every expression more pronounced as the day wears on. Side by side, photos tell the story best. In the morning, the foundation appears seamless. By midday, the color has darkened or shifted, and fine lines become more obvious as the product settles. Macro shots reveal how the matte finish collects in creases, while the rest of the face takes on an unnatural, one-dimensional look. For women seeking radiance and life in their skin, Studio Fix Fluid's combination of color shift and flatness can add years instead of subtracting them. Its place near the top of this list comes from the double impact, a visible color shift plus a finish that hides the skin's natural vitality. Estée Lauder Double Wear Stay-in-Place Foundation has earned a reputation as the go-to for all-day coverage, but its promise of perfection comes at a cost for mature skin. The formula is engineered with a dense network of film-forming polymers designed to lock pigment in place for up to 24 hours. On paper, this sounds like a dream. In practice, that rigid film creates a barrier that is far less flexible than the skin it covers. Mature skin, with its reduced collagen and elasticity, needs to move and stretch, smiling, laughing, or simply talking. Double Wear's cured film can flex less than 10% before it starts to crack or separate, while natural facial movement can reach 25%, especially around the mouth and eyes. This mismatch is not just theoretical. In time-lapse wear tests, cracks begin to form along smile lines and crow's feet by the 4-hour mark. What started as a smooth, matte finish slowly transforms into a patchwork of fissures, especially on drier areas. The effect is most obvious in slow motion, a wide grin, and the foundation splits along every expression line. The matte, flat finish also erases the skin's natural highlights, leaving the face looking one-dimensional and parched, what some call the desert effect. Unlike lighter, more forgiving formulas, Double Wear does not melt back into place after movement. Instead, the cracks deepen with every smile or frown, drawing attention to the very lines most women hope to minimize. Attempts to reblend or touch up only add to the mask-like appearance, as new layers cannot bond seamlessly to the set film underneath. For women over 50, the trade-off for legendary longevity is clear: a foundation that resists life's moments but struggles to keep up with them. Its popularity is a testament to its staying power, but for mature skin, that same strength can mean sacrificing softness, radiance, and the freedom to express every emotion without worry. Across all 10 entries, one pattern stands out. Formulas that promise coverage and longevity often punish mature skin with dryness and harsh texture. The truth is, less is more. Hydration and subtlety outshine heavy camouflage. Today, the smartest beauty choices honor skin's changes, not erase them. In this category, confidence means embracing what works for you now. Which swap made the biggest difference for you? Drop your thoughts below.